At the end of 2020, we released the AC1 plate carrier. It was our version of a slick plate carrier design. It was very similar to a lot of slick carriers on the market. There's only so many ways you can manufacture those. And since then, we have sold 29,716 AC1s and 5,644 AC1s, which for those of you who maybe don't know the story, one of the original guy who was manufacturing the AC1 for us, signed all his paperwork saying it was being made in the US because that's something that's very important to us here at T.Rex Arms. And what he was actually doing was sending a portion of them across the border to getting sewn and created in Mexico. They would then get smuggled across the border. The made in Mexico tags would get pulled out because you have to have those for importing goods. And he would then sew in made in American tags. We caught on to this. We had our own investigation. We ultimately sued the guy. We ultimately went public with all the information, offered rebates, all sorts of different things. But we sold a lot of AC1s at the time at a discount. Lots of people, liked what we were doing. They enjoyed it. They enjoyed the discount on the product. It was still a good product. In fact, the ones in Mexico, some of the ones that we looked at when we had them, had better sewing quality than some of the ones that were made in the US, or they were at least on par. So the quality of the product was there. It just wasn't made in America, which is what we wanted. Since then, the AC1 has been used by a lot of different people. I actually have one right here that was sent in by Jacob Heppner, who is a CrossFit and tactical games athlete. He's a physical specimen of a human, and this is probably the most used AC1 in existence. He has worn this for multiple competitions and a ton of fitness-related training, and the really cool thing with that is I can look at it and see it's held up for this entire time. He's used this for a couple years, and this thing is still running strong. The elastic is starting to have the sort of bacon crinkling effect on this particular elastic, but the cordura is good. The stitching is still fine. It doesn't look like he adjusted the ride height of his plates when he got this, because this looks like this is how it ships normally, but he's wearing training plates in here. He's not like wearing body armor, so ride height doesn't matter in that case. And you'll see lots of stains from mud and dirt and all that good stuff. But the carrier itself, the design itself is good. It hasn't fallen apart as he's been running around doing stuff with probably 15 pounds of plates in this, and then ammunition as well. He has some patches from some different organizations I guess he trains with or does stuff with. Police, Drug Task Force, San Antonio Police. Triple shingle here in the front for his 3 mags for his competitions, and there it is right there. So the design itself is proven. It's been used by a lot of people, and they've enjoyed having it. But like all things here at T.Rex Arms, we're constantly looking for ways to improve the product. We've gotten a lot of criticism over the last couple years on things about the AC1 people didn't like, the fact there were no pull tabs, the fact that it was sewn a certain way, or the design of the the two-tone factor of it, just different things that people kind of complained about. And just like with all things, we look at the criticism, we weigh it, we see like, is this criticism merited based on other factors or based on the individual who's offering the criticism, or is it someone who doesn't really understand what the plate carrier is for? There were guys criticizing that this couldn't sustain a ton of weight. Well, that's not what it was designed for. It's a slick plate carrier. It's not designed to hold like 60 pounds worth of equipment and charges and all this crazy stuff. It's a slick carrier that we created specifically for the civilian consumer market, and that's one reason we have moved quite a few of them. And that's all to individual customers. We don't do government contracts. We don't seek those out. I'm sure there's a few people in there who've snuck in GPC orders and things like that. But for the most part, that's 30,500 something to civilians who want body armor, and that's awesome. But in the process of looking at all of the criticisms of the plate carrier, we made some decisions, and that was to split the design into 2 new products. So up top, we have the AC1 in its very traditional format that probably many of you guys are familiar with. And down here, we have the AC0. So this is a slicked out version of the AC1. So we're keeping sort of the naming scheme. But over here on the right, we have the AC1.5. So it is a slight upgrade from the AC1, but it's not like a ton of insane features that maybe would take it up to AC3 or AC4, something like that. But we decided, as we were thinking through this product, that there is a need for a ultra slick and possibly budget as well plate carrier. But then there's also obviously a need for a carrier that has more Velcro fields, has a different cummerbund option, and can do some different things. They also have different shoulder pads on the AC0. The intention for this particular product is this is sort of your hey, I need plates, I need to wear them maybe under a shirt. I'm not looking for anything too complicated. I don't want to spend a lot of extra money on features I don't need. You know, I just want something really slick and simple. So on this guy, we have a very simple cummerbund, elastic cummerbund. It's a single width of this polyelastic that we are switching to. And then the shoulder pads themselves are unpadded. It is just a tweed sleeve that is covering up the adjustable shoulder pads. And this is enough to handle the weight of plates just fine. And it's a little bit slicker and can conceal under a shirt or a jacket very easily. One of the biggest upgrades that we made to this, one of the biggest criticisms that we had with the AC1 was the shoulder straps are perfectly straight. There's no angle. There's some plate carriers that have like very aggressive angles, and then there's some that, you know, are less. So we have baked in a 5 to 6 degree cant for the shoulder straps. So we do have a little bit of that for those of you who have giant traps and, you know, are athletes and whatnot. I mean, I didn't have a huge issue with the square, you know, setup, but wearing these, they do seem to be a little bit more comfortable. But some of that might also be the placebo effect, possibly, but you know, who knows about that. So, so the AC0 has a simplistic cummerbund, very simplistic shoulder straps that are nice and thin for wearing under a shirt. And the AC1.5 over here has upgraded shoulder straps. On the original AC1, you will see that they are shorter and they only have one layer of soft mesh material on the inside. On the new version, we decided to lengthen them significantly. It was just a little bit more comfortable. You have more surface area running along your traps, neck, back, shoulder. And we also increased the foam to 2 layers of foam. So it's definitely more comfortable, can sustain weight just fine. Again, just a nice little upgrade off of the AC1. The cummerbund that is included on the AC1.5 is a version of our advanced cummerbund that we currently offer. The new version is made of this polyelastic. Now, the reason we swapped elastics, there are a number of reasons. One of them is this material lasts much longer than this other form of elastic. It also doesn't have that crinkly effect like we saw on Heppner's plate carrier. It also has a little bit more perceived comfort and also, I believe, structure as well. The downsides to this particular material is it does not come in printed camouflage patterns. So we're not going to have, at least until probably someone makes it, I guess, a full multicam version of this cummerbund. So the multicam AC1.5 will have a coyote version. But the new format for the cummerbund, obviously I have one on this guy because we're still waiting for the rest to arrive. We have the small format for the pistol mag, multi-tool, flashlight, medium cell for your 5.56 magazine and or radio, and then the rear cell we actually flipped upside down. So what this cell was originally designed for when I came up with this design was for a med kit, some sort of like, you know, med tray or something, and being able to deploy it from the rear is a lot easier than trying to get up here and pull from, you know, straight up. So this one is turned upside down. It works super well. I have one on this guy with one of our ITRKs. The pull tab keeps it from falling out, and I can literally just go back there, put the pull tab off to the side, rip it out, and I'm good to go. I could have 2 of those, you know, maybe for like active shooter stuff or whatever. You could probably figure out a way to put like flex cuffs in there as well. But again, just updating the product to be a little bit superior, and that's something that was important to us. Now, probably the coolest upgrade to the AC1.5 is something that we have done to the loop field in the front. So for those of you who are running around running radio wings, such as ours or another company's, you've probably had the really fun experience of, in the process of lifting your placard, you know, whatever it happens to be, you know, a 4-mag or something, these accessories tend to just like get moved around and, you know, as you're playing around with your equipment. And I thought it would be pretty cool if we could actually house all of the wings inside of the plate carrier, completely separate from whatever placard you're running. So the plate pocket has an extra layer, so you can house your wings, maybe even your like armor, like pouches and like things like that, inside of this right here. Shut the front flap, and I can still get to my armor. I can still add my armor. I can do all my stuffs, but now the wings are completely separate and protected by this extra field of loop Velcro in the front. It just makes for a much nicer experience if you are donning and doffing your equipment very often and you're running side accessory pouches such as radio wings, tourniquet holders, other things like that. So this is an upgrade. I think there's 1 or 2 other plate carriers that currently do this. I hope way more plate carriers do this as more and more people get into using wings, because it just makes the end user experience so much better. You will also notice that we have some MOLLE that is hanging out above the Velcro in the front. This is very similar to the AVS sort of webbing style that the Crye AVS and CPC series of plate carriers have. However, Crye, as Crye does sometimes or often, made a proprietary spacing so that their pouches may not work with other people's. This is MOLLE spacing. So our hope is, as more companies maybe adopt something like this, it's a little bit more standardized than something proprietary. And so what you can do is you can take a standard Crye AVS front panel, such as this regular 556 setup, and you can thread this through all 4 or all 6 or these 4 little guys into here. And then what you're going to have is you're going to have a front flap that is not relying on any sort of buckles or hardware. It's just a little bit more streamlined, if that's something you're interested in. And we have 2 placards. These aren't available yet, or they might be depending on when you watch this video, that have this format designed into the product. So if you want to get rid of the swift clip buckles, you want to get rid of the G-hooks, you just want something really streamlined, you can thread these through the MOLLE webbing on the top, and then you're going to have this right here. And you can have whatever pouches you want on the front, whatever you want to do. You just then don't have to rely on buckles and G-hooks. And on the AC0, it works super nice. It's just super streamlined and looks very convenient. So we're going to have 2 options soon. A standard MOLLE flap that you can put whatever you want on. It's very simple, very streamlined. You can use this with other people's products, obviously. You can hook on a swift clip buckle or a G-hook, tuck these away. You don't need to worry about them, and then use this. There's lots of companies that make these. Less that make them with an AVS style attachment system like this. But we also have a 556 placard that is designed the same way. So we have on this one swift clip buckles, so you can clip it in like a placard. G-hook buckles, if you're into that instead, which is much more slick than the buckles. Or you can remove both of those completely and just thread on the 4 rows of MOLLE, essentially, onto the AC1.5 or the AC0, and then just have this instead with no hardware. We have plans to create other placards with this particular, I don't want to call it a system because it's literally just MOLLE turned, another direction. We could have made a proprietary system, but that doesn't really serve anyone any good. But we have plans to make other placards for other calibers and other just types of things using this, because there are some advantages to ditching the clips, ditching the G-hooks, and just having it be more streamlined and connected directly to the plate carrier. Another thing we did to improve the product is on the traditional AC1, you have 2 little rows of webbing here to house a swift clip buckle so it doesn't move around. It's very nice. Most people do that. But when you go to mount a product that utilizes G-hook buckles, there's a lot of slop. It also might sit really low. And then if you move it up high, it just sits really tall. So it's not really optimized for G-hooks and products with G-hooks, kind of like this Faro placard. So what we did instead is we added an extra slot, essentially. We didn't add, change the length, but there's still enough room for the swift clip buckle to be attached to the plate carrier. But now the fit is much tighter for an actual swift clip buckle, and you can set the height more appropriately. So again, it's just little things like this that when we're in the process of improving a product, going, hey, what are all the improvements we can make that make sense, that we can add into the product just to make it just better for people if you're going to be spending money on stuff like this. So we improved that. I will say the downside to this little feature is, one, it looks kind of less nice, I guess. But then the other one is it is a little bit harder to insert a swift clip buckle into there because it is just a tighter fit with how close everything is sewn. The other thing that we improved or changed, or actually this is up for some This is up for discussion depending on who you ask, but we changed out the material that is used on the inside of the plate carrier. So on the original AC1, we have this mesh material, and not in every case, but often this mesh material will start to fray, and it will get kind of disgusting sometimes. Little like microbes will get in there, and mold, things like that. It's just not quite as clean as something that is smooth, like this tweave material. So as we were talking to our nylon designers that we have on retainer, they actually recommended we move away from the mesh material, and they also didn't think it probably didn't do a whole lot for the plate carrier being in the middle here, which is probably correct. So we went to a tweave design, which also gives more stretch to the plate bag for plate fitment. Also looks much nicer. I believe it's also a little bit more expensive. But again, our objective with these products is not necessarily to make the most budget-friendly plate carrier, because frankly, you can't do that in the United States of America. You're not going to compete with Chinese plate carriers, or even plate carriers maybe made in Mexico for price point. We're trying to focus on best features and features that make sense. So on the inside of both the AC0 and on the AC1.5, we have this tweave material on the inside, giving it stretch left and right for plates, and it also does seem to be more comfortable than the older mesh material. It also just looks nicer. The purpose of this video is to educate you guys on what we're doing with this particular product line. And it's also a little unconventional because we're launching this video before this product is available. Now, that is typically not something that we try to do or like to do here at T.Rex Arms, but we're currently waiting on massive shipments of these plate carriers to arrive. We've actually gotten all the AC0s. We're waiting on some of the 1.5s, but also trying to tell you guys, hey, here are the upgrades. Here's what's going on with it. So when it does launch, you guys already know what's going on. Maybe you've saved money to buy one, but I'm also going to say if you're an owner of an AC1, or a Spiritus or a Pharaoh or something that's similar, you probably don't need to buy one of these. These are new products to our lineup for people who want to get into armor who don't own a plate carrier already. If you already own a nice plate carrier from a company that does, like is a slick carrier, holds armor, holds accessories and things, you don't need to be that guy who just keeps buying the latest plate carrier out there. Unless you like to sell off your old one, and that's just how you do things. But if you have an AC1, you probably don't need to upgrade into one of these. But it is something to consider, especially if some of these features, like how the radio wings are protected by the Velcro here, maybe you like the idea of having this material, or the 5-degree cant for the shoulder pads is exactly what you're looking for because you're an absolute beast of a human, then you should consider these plate carriers as an upgrade from your AC1. And then this can be a backup, you know, throw some L210s in there or something. Maybe that's for your spouse, maybe that's for the person who didn't prepare in your neighborhood, who then comes to you wanting equipment in the future. But that's what we're doing with both of these products. We do have plans for other products to go along with these, such as a side armor cummerbund that can take side armor, both soft and hard armor. They will be compatible with both of these products. They will also be compatible with the old AC1 as well. And of course, we have placards that will be coming out that are compatible with our Molly row on the top of the plate carrier above the loop field. So I hope this was helpful, guys, and also gives you some insight into how we develop our nylon and how we are trying to upgrade it as well. We've had this product now for a while. It was due for an update, and we've been collecting data from you guys, so many of you guys who've supported us, and also just collecting some data internally as we've continued using these to improve them. And in a few years, we will probably update these as well. We will change them slightly, maybe change the materials entirely, change how we, which cummerbund we offer with it, because that's just what we do at T.Rex Arms. We're constantly trying to improve and modify the product, and we love to hear from you guys how you all think we should be doing that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Oh, I can do it. I can do it. Stand by. There, there, and there. All in under 7. So stupid. 9-3, second try.